Readings of Almighty God's Words. The responsibilities of leaders and workers. The responsibilities of leaders and workers, 20. The 12th responsibility of leaders and workers requires them to perform three most crucial tasks. First, they must identify various people, events, and things that cause disruptions and disturbances in the church's work. Second, after discerning and characterizing them, they must promptly stop and restrict the evil people. This is the second step. Third, while stopping and restricting the evil people and turning things around, they must frequently fellowship God's words with the brothers and sisters to expose the evil deeds of the evil people, and closely monitor the reactions and understandings of the brothers and sisters regarding this matter, promptly correcting any incorrect views they have. Of course, if some brothers and sisters who pursue the truth have insights, they should be encouraged to fellowship more. Additionally, leaders and workers should also help those who are weak or of small stature, and encourage them to speak more. The intended result is to help the brothers and sisters gain discernment and learn lessons from the events that occur, learning to discern people and matters. The purpose of discerning people and matters is to enable them to accurately understand various types of people and, according to the truth principles, treat them using the correct methods, while also learning lessons themselves. What lessons should they learn? They should observe what God's attitude toward these people is when He dissects and exposes their states. Knowing God's attitude toward these people makes it clearer what kind of person one should be and what kind of path to take, doesn't it? In short, the ultimate result to be achieved is for God's chosen people to understand the truth and enter into reality in real-life environments, to be able to do their duties normally, and submit to God's orchestrations and arrangements. In this way, the leaders' and workers' performance of the church's work will align with God's intentions. Judging from the three steps of performing this work, is it difficult for leaders and workers to do this job well? If relying on human kindness and caliber, it can be somewhat strenuous to do this job well, because you will not achieve the result required by God and will not fulfill the true responsibilities of leaders and workers. Can you do this job well if relying on corrupt human dispositions? Speaking precisely, relying on corrupt dispositions to do this job means acting according to your own ideas. What will this result in?
It will cause chaos in the church.
This is one consequence. The more you work, the more chaotic things become. What is chaos? What are the specific states of chaos? It is when, during gatherings, people cannot normally eat and drink God's words or fellowship the truth. There are always evil people and disbelievers causing disturbances. Or there are constant disputes, with everyone sticking to their own views and forming factions and cliques. The brothers and sisters lack discernment and are at a loss. Those with spiritual understanding and who love the truth are also disturbed, and their life does not grow. In such a church, evil people and disbelievers completely hold power, and the Holy Spirit does not work. In such a church, No matter what happens, people are all talking at once, expressing all kinds of views, with hardly any correct viewpoints being said. The church quickly splits into several factions. There is no unity among people, and there is no sign of the Holy Spirit's work or guidance. People guard against one another and regard each other suspiciously. 2 or 3 groups vie for power and profit. Everyone seeks their own backers and attacks and excludes dissenters, and all manner of evil deeds may be committed. This is the scene of chaos. How is this situation caused? Is it not because leaders and workers are unable to do their work? Leaders and workers working according to their own ideas brings about these consequences. What does working according to one's own ideas mean? It means not understanding the truth, lacking principles, and acting blindly based on corrupt dispositions and human notions and imaginings, leading to an even more chaotic state in the church. Some people might say, how can there be evil people causing disturbances in the church? I don't know who is right and who is wrong, or which side to take. Others might say, the church is divided into several factions. How are we supposed to live church life? Every gathering is unfruitful and a waste of time. Continuing to believe like this won't yield any results. When a church becomes so chaotic that God's chosen people are unable to live church life, it is completely spurned by God. This clearly shows that as long as evil people and disbelievers hold power, they will ruin the church. The church cannot function without good people and those who practice the truth as leaders and workers. Without them, it will be impossible to keep things under control. If evil people and disbelievers are not restricted, there will be no church life, and the normal order of the church will be completely botched, turning into a mess. This is the result when leaders and workers do not do their jobs well. If leaders and workers cannot accept the truth, be considerate of God's intentions, or rely on God, then they will not be able to do church work well. They will be unable to resolve any problems that arise in the church, or resolve any difficulties faced by God's chosen people. Can such leaders and workers produce good results if they hold power? They can only bring chaos to the church. Ultimately, this is the sort of situation that arises. This church then becomes desolate, a place where Satan holds power. It deteriorates into something else. God will not acknowledge this church, and the Holy Spirit will not work in it. Such a church is merely in name and should be shut down. These are the tasks leaders and workers must do as outlined in the 12th responsibility. We shall not fellowship on any more specific examples now. The theme of today's fellowship is to expose the specific manifestations of false leaders while they perform these tasks, and to identify which behaviors reflect the essence of false leaders and can be classified as such. This is the main topic of today's fellowship. First, the requirement for leaders and workers in this work is to promptly identify various people, events, and things that cause disruptions and disturbances to God's work and the normal order of the church. Prompt identification is a required standard for leaders and workers. Whenever something arises, As soon as there is the slightest hint of something amiss, such as signs of evil people starting to maneuver, or someone showing indications of causing trouble, leaders and workers should sense it and be alert. If they are numb and dull-witted, it will be troublesome, especially in situations where there are evil people causing disturbances. As soon as this issue starts to emerge, and it is unclear exactly what these people intend to do or how the situation will develop, that is, when leaders and workers cannot yet see through this matter, they should not act blindly or alarm these people prematurely so as to avoid misjudgment. However, this does not mean not noticing and being unaware of the situation. Instead, it means waiting and observing to see how things develop and what these people's intentions, goals, and motives are. This is the work leaders and workers need to do. When the situation develops to a certain extent, and these people start venting negativity and spreading fallacies, causing disturbances to God's chosen people, the leaders and workers should act promptly. They should stand up without hesitation to expose, dissect, and restrict the evil deeds of these individuals, helping others learn lessons and discern and see through the evil people. This is the process of promptly and accurately identifying the various people, events, and things causing disruptions and disturbances. This is what it means for leaders and workers to be doing this work. The main goal of this work is to identify the various people, events, and things that disrupt and disturb the church's work, and then resolve them promptly. This is what leaders and workers can achieve. So, what are the manifestations of false leaders in this work? How can we dissect and discern false leaders? Clearly, false leaders cannot promptly and accurately identify the disturbances caused by evil people to the church's work. This is the most evident issue with false leaders' performance of church work. They have no discernment regarding the disturbances caused by evil people to the church's work. Why say that false leaders cannot identify problems or see through to the essence of problems? Some people's actions are clearly disruptions and disturbances to the church's work, but false leaders cannot discern or perceive the problems. They are blind. Some people vent negativity, mislead, and disturb others in the church. Others form cliques, secretly engaging in shady dealings, often judging certain individuals behind their backs. Still others recklessly seduce and flirt with one another. False leaders pretend not to see these things. They are completely unaware of the seriousness of these issues, and just how many people's pursuit of the truth and performance of duty will be impacted if these issues go unresolved, as well as what consequences they will bring, so they ignore them. When some people notice issues and report them to a false leader, the false leader may say, "They're all brothers and sisters." Who doesn't reveal some corruption? Who doesn't have emotions and desires? Don't judge or condemn others lightly. No matter how absurd, wicked, or contrary to the truth something is in the church, a false leader simply does not see it. Some people, during gatherings, always speak negatively, saying things like, "They keep saying God's day is near. When is it actually coming?" Some brothers and sisters are unknowingly affected by this, But what is the false leader's response? They consider it normal weakness and fail to see that it is venting negativity, misleading, and disturbing others. Some brothers and sisters are clearly affected in doing their duties. They don't want to preach the gospel anymore and no longer positively or proactively join gatherings. Every time there is a gathering, they have to be called upon to attend. Yet, the false leader does not see this as a problem. They do not notice what changes occur among everyone in the church when this problem arises. They simply mechanically hold gatherings as a matter of convention, unaware of what is happening behind the scenes, the changes in people's states, what problems people have, who caused them, who the main culprits are, from whom the problems originated, and just what issues need to be resolved. They cannot perceive any of these. Is it because they lack eyesight that they cannot perceive these things?
No.
Since they do not lack eyesight, why is it that when such serious disruptions, disturbances, and obvious fallacies appear within the church, they fail to see or identify them? Clearly, this leader is blind and lacks spiritual understanding. Some people say, although they cannot identify these problems, they can read God's words to people during gatherings. Regardless of people's understanding of their reading or whether it yields any results, they persistently read God's words. For this reason alone, they can be considered a good leader. They focus only on reading God's words. If this doesn't lead to any results, isn't this just going through the motions? If they cannot solve problems, what benefit can people gain from gatherings? So, is this leader a false leader? One manifestation of a false leader when performing this work is blindness. They are blind. No matter how obvious the problem is right in front of them or happening around them, they cannot see or identify it. Outwardly, they may seem to cherish God's words more than the average person, but they do not understand what God's words are about, which people they refer to, or which situations they address. They cannot relate God's words to real life. So, what is the understanding they fellowship? Do they align with the truth? Can they resolve real problems?
No.
When they preach, they just spout empty rhetoric, as if they have a great understanding of the truth, but they cannot identify obvious disturbances caused by evil people in the church, acting instead as if nothing has occurred. Does this show they understand the truth and have discernment? Do they have genuine understanding of God's words?
No.
If they can read God's words normally, why can't they use them to view and resolve problems? Why is it that their minds never open when they read God's words? Why don't they have a keen heart when reading God's words? What is the root of this issue? Why are they blind? What is the cause of their blindness?
It is because they lack the ability to comprehend God's word and have extremely poor caliber.
Correct. It is not that their eyes are blind, but their heart is blind. What does having a blind heart mean? It means having extremely poor caliber and lacking the ability to comprehend God's words. No matter how many of God's words they read, They only understand it on a superficial level. They cannot relate it to the various people, events, things, and situations that appear in the church, nor can they treat, handle, and resolve various problems according to the truth principles. This is the root of their blindness. They have poor caliber and are not capable of this work. Therefore, no matter how much they diligently study and rigorously train, and no matter how hard they work to compensate for their lack of ability, can they fulfill the responsibilities of leaders and workers? They cannot. These people are quite pitiable. No matter how much they equip themselves with words and doctrines, they cannot fulfill the responsibilities of leaders and workers or carry out this work. Just now, we fellowshipped about a manifestation of these false leaders, which is that they cannot see that the actions of evil people and antichrists cause disturbances to the church, nor can they see through to the essence of evil people and antichrists. When encountering matters where evil people cause disruptions and disturbances, sometimes they might notice a bit of a clue, or whether it be through their experience, feeling, or intuition, they may merely sense that something is not quite right, that this person's expression, the look in their eyes, and their words are somewhat abnormal. They may have a bit of a feeling, but they cannot see through many things, and they fail to identify most problems. What is the reason for them not seeing through to the essence of problems? This involves yet another issue. They are so diligent, staying in their rooms all day writing sermons, making notes about their spiritual devotions, writing down their understandings and experiences of God's words, learning hymns, setting goals for the number of times to pray, the amount of God's words to read, and the number of sermons to listen to each day, and the amount of time in which to write an experiential testimony article. They complete all these tasks. So why is it that they still cannot see through things when they happen? They do not understand the truth. They can only spout words and doctrines, and they cannot solve actual problems. Some people always speak words and doctrines to mislead others, and false leaders cannot see through this. Though they sometimes sense that something is wrong, that there might be a problem, seeing that those people do not seem evil, they nevertheless just let the issue pass in a muddle-headed way. They are not able to seek the truth principles to discern such problems. And even if they have read God's words exposing the states and essence of such people, they do not know how to link them to these situations. Their minds are fuzzy, and they cannot see through these things. When they want to seek, they do not know how to articulate it. They talk for a long time without explaining the essence of the problem, and without clearly describing what the overall manifestations of such people are like, what their humanity, pursuit, performance of their duties, and aspirations to expend themselves for God are like, or what their attitude toward the truth is like, and whether they are people who accept the truth. These false leaders cannot see through to or clearly explain these matters. Even if they sense there is a problem, they babble on, saying a bunch of things, without making their point clear. Their listeners need to be able to discern, extract the key points, and analyze their words in order to know the questions they are asking, the overall state of the person they are describing, and ultimately determine the essence of that person. whether they are evil or good, whether they are someone who pursues the truth or merely a laborer. When you ask a false leader to describe an issue or raise a question, they can never describe the root and essence of the issue or its crux clearly. In short, false leaders do not have any particular attitude toward problems they cannot see through, and for matters where they can notice some clues, they still cannot see through to the essence of these problems. Even when some people vent negativity and spread notions, causing an adverse impact on the church life, they cannot see through to this. They cannot see through to or determine the essence of a problem from its surface or from its budding stage. Of course, seeing through to the essence of a problem is not a simple matter. The most important thing in church work is to see through to the essence of various people based on God's words. Those who understand the truth can achieve this, but false leaders and false workers cannot. When they see antichrists disturbing the church's work, they cannot see through to the essence of the problem and even defend the antichrists, saying, they are just revealing some corrupt dispositions and being a bit arrogant, willful, and arbitrary. They can still endure hardship while doing their duties. So we should not judge and condemn them. We should not make a big deal out of it. Others ask, if they can endure hardship while doing their duties, are they people who pursue the truth? Have they incited, misled, or drawn others in behind the scenes? Have they exalted and testified for themselves? False leaders cannot see through these matters. There are even some people who, under the banner of testifying for God, intentionally smear and blaspheme God, and deliberately spread rumors while dissecting and talking about knowing their own notions about Him. After hearing them do this, false leaders may feel that what they said sounds a little off, but they cannot see through to the seriousness of the issue. Much less can they see the negative impact and severe consequences these words bring. Therefore, various disruptions and disturbances that occur right under the noses of false leaders either go completely unnoticed by them, or if they do notice them, they do not know how to characterize them or how to draw links between God's words and these situations. These very clear matters become a confused mess for them. False leaders are dimwits. In the church, they cannot discern which people are pursuing the truth and which people are true believers who can accept the truth. They cannot discern which people do not pursue the truth, but are still able to labor and are mostly willing to pay a price and act according to principles, and are relatively obedient and submissive, despite occasionally speaking some negative words. They also cannot discern which people exclusively play negative roles, vent negativity, and judge others, and always have notions about all of the work arrangements of God's house, and about the rules and requirements regarding all items of work in God's house, harboring an attitude of resistance rather than acceptance, and being particularly irreverent toward these things, even to the point of judging them. In short, false leaders cannot see through any type of people. Worse still, in the church, there are some people who frequently spread notions, vent negativity, and do not even read God's words during gatherings. They always form cliques, engaging in jealousy and strife. Some people always want to be leaders, always want to profit off the church, and always want to seize the property of God's house. There are also some people who appear to have some good behavior outwardly, but do not play any positive role in their duties. False leaders cannot see through these negative characters and cannot categorize them. They cannot see through to just what path these people are taking, what their essence is, and whether they are people who accept the truth. Isn't this a problem with false leaders' caliber? These false leaders have extremely poor caliber. Whatever they do is a complete mess, and any work they undertake ends up in complete disarray. Some people spend offerings without principles when they purchase items for God's house, buying things arbitrarily without getting permission. False leaders, upon seeing this, even say, although they spent a bit more money, their intentions were good. When buying things for God's house, we should buy the best. This is not a waste of money. Isn't this how offerings should be used? Are there principles to their words?
No.
So, what kind of words are these? Aren't they muddled? Unprincipled words are muddled words, and baseless words are also muddled words. Some people frequently speak words and doctrines during church life. They are particularly eloquent and talk in a structured manner that sounds quite organized, and they possess excellent speaking skills. What do false leaders say about such people? Our church life relies entirely on so-and-so. They are the most articulate, and they have the greatest understanding of God's words. Without them, our church life would be incredibly dry and uninteresting. Little do they know that these people are only speaking words and doctrines. No matter how much a person listens to them, they will not gain any edification. They won't understand the truth or know how to link the truth to themselves to understand their own state and solve their problems. Under the flattery and incitement of false leaders, people who speak words and doctrines, people who love to be in the limelight, and even people who often veer off topic in their speeches, rambling on at each gathering about extravagant, nonsensical, and wide-ranging topics, are all given room to perform. False leaders are unable to discern them and even consider them talented people, flattering them by saying, "You speak so well. Why don't you write experiential testimony articles?" What a shame. In the church, those university students, professors, and intellectuals are regarded as treasures by false leaders. They say, these intellectuals and professors are talented individuals. They have vast experience and renown in society. If they become leaders and workers in the church, more work can get done, and God's chosen people can benefit more and gain more. In the future, the church's work will rely entirely on them. With these intellectuals leading us, our faith in God will surely bring blessings. Therefore, in churches where false leaders are present, those who possess status in society, those who are knowledgeable, those who are eloquent, those who talk in an empty way about words and doctrines, those who possess some prestige, and so on. All these people who have no truth reality whatsoever hold dominant positions in the church and are treated by false leaders as the main forces and even the so-called pillars of the church. When something happens in the church, false leaders say, "Go ask so-and-so. He was the CEO of a company." Or, "Go ask so-and-so. She was a professor at such and such university." Or, "Go ask so-and-so. He was the top lawyer at a law firm." False leaders treat these people as the pillars and main forces of the church. Can the church life be good under such circumstances? So, what is the result? These so-called main forces and pillars secretly or even openly vie for status and form cliques, and frequently spread notions and disseminate rumors. The brothers and sisters in the church who are true believers, love the truth, can accept the truth, and have a pure comprehension of the truth, are often excluded and suppressed by them. These so-called distinguished social figures, whether in doing their duties or undertaking any work, have no loyalty and never act according to the truth principles. They entirely follow the ways of secular society. Therefore, in such a church, those who truly pursue the truth, those who have a pure comprehension, and those who possess some humanity and have a sense of justice, have no space to speak, no right to speak, and certainly no right to make decisions. Regardless of what happens in the church, the final decision makers are always this group of so-called key members. False leaders idolize and blindly believe in these people, so they ultimately rely on them for solutions whenever something happens. If these people pursued the truth and acted according to the truth principles, this would be a good thing. However, most of these people do not pursue the truth. They possess some knowledge and education. They have social status. And on top of that, they have deceitful and insidious humanity, and are silver-tongued and adept at misleading others. This is precisely the nature essence of antichrists. What is the result of false leaders relying on these people? They totally mess up the work of the church and the order of the church life, and they ruin the life entry of God's chosen people, causing the church to completely lose its testimony. Some false leaders hope to have a big shot in the church who understands politics and current events, thinking, if there were such a person to expand the church's scale, bolster its influence, and enhance its reputation, the work of spreading the gospel would have hope. That would truly be a cause for celebration. In churches controlled by false leaders, during church life, some people talk extensively about politics, current events, the international situation, and domestic affairs. They discuss the private lives of high-level political figures, and even analyze the conspiracies and overt plots of these political figures in a clear and logical way. False leaders, drooling with envy, say, "Finally, our church has a big shot to help us keep up appearances." I always used to feel discouraged, frustrated, and that I could not hold my head high because our church lacked this kind of big shot. But now we have such a person in our church. So we should let this person do whatever they want and say whatever they want, and give them freedom. Doesn't God's house practice freedom and human rights? Doesn't the age of kingdom emphasize human rights? False leaders treat those who like to talk about politics and comment on famous people, who often drone on and on about lofty, hollow ideas among people, as rare treasures, and want to cultivate them into the pillars and mainstays of the church. Thus, They frequently encourage and praise them, afraid that it will impact the church's work if they become negative. In short, these false leaders are numb and blind. They cannot promptly identify the various people who disrupt and disturb the church's work. Even if they do identify them, they cannot see through to the essence of evil people. They cannot even see through obvious evil people who fall under the category of antichrists, such as those who form cliques and establish independent kingdoms. When they see antichrists forming cliques, strutting their stuff, and doing as they please with the immense power they command, how do false leaders evaluate them? This person is extraordinary. They're truly remarkable. I hadn't noticed this talent before. They are much better than me. They really put me to shame. Look at their abilities. They are able to take things on and let things go, speak with class, and they keep to their word. I, on the other hand, am no good. I am like a timid little girl. They admire the antichrists greatly, bow down to them, and willingly become their followers. One characteristic of this manifestation of false leaders is blindness, and another is numbness. Overall, the essence of this problem with false leaders is poor caliber. People have eyes so that they can see things. After a person sees something, their mind will react and make judgments. And after they form a judgment, they will develop a viewpoint and gain a path of practice. This proves that they are not blind. No matter what they see, they have a normal reaction and know how to face and handle it. This is a person with normal thinking. People have a process of reacting to what they see. They will ponder and think it over to a greater or lesser extent. As their thoughts unfold, a picture of that thing gradually forms in their minds, and they develop their own viewpoints, attitudes, and approaches. So, what is the precondition for producing these things? A person's eyes must be able to see things, then transfer the collected information to their brain and mind for contemplation. If a person can see things with their eyes, then they are not blind, and they can then think and ponder, have awareness, attitudes, and viewpoints, and ultimately draw correct conclusions. Of course, arriving at these conclusions requires some time. What does having awareness, viewpoints, and attitudes before these conclusions are reached mean? It means that a person's mind is active, not numb, proving that this person is alive, not dead. False leaders have poor caliber. In what ways is it poor? False leaders lack both of these qualities. Their eyes are open, but they cannot see things happening or unfolding, which is blindness. Additionally, when they see things, their minds have no reaction. They do not form any viewpoints or thoughts, and they do not have the means or correct ways to judge and thereby draw conclusions. This is numbness in spirit. People numb in spirit cannot discern anything. They possess no correct evaluations or accurate judgments, and ultimately, they cannot draw correct conclusions and do not know how to approach, handle, or resolve the matters at hand. This is being numb and dull-witted. When a person is numb and dull-witted in their spirit to the point where they do not react at all when something happens, this is being dead. This is describing the matter to a T. Let's put aside for now whether false leaders are indeed dead, and just say that they have poor caliber. Just how poor is it? No matter how significant an event occurs, they cannot see it. And even if they do see it, they cannot see through it. For example, no matter how long false leaders work for, they cannot draw conclusions on what the essence of a matter is, how to categorize it, how to define it, or what the basis for the definition is. They do not know how to evaluate these things, and have no standards or principles for evaluating them. They are muddled people who lack spiritual understanding. This is the primary manifestation of false leaders in the first task. They are blind, stupid, foolish, and numb, yet they still want to be leaders. Is this not delaying things? Is this not very troublesome? If someone has never served as a leader before, and if they are just encountering something for the first time, and this matter is not mentioned in God's words and is unheard of among people, that is, if they have no experience or knowledge of this matter, under such circumstances, it will take time for that person to develop correct insights, attitudes, and viewpoints. But why are false leaders said to be numb and blind? It is because I have spoken so many words. But no matter how much I expose and dissect things, or how many examples I give, false leaders merely know about the matters themselves after hearing my words, but do not understand the truth principles from them. In addition, the more I speak, the more confused they become. They say, with so many matters, so many words, so many stories, who can remember them all and make connections to real life? Don't say so much. I'm having a bit of trouble taking it all in and understanding it. Just tell me how to handle this person. Should they be expelled or kept? Is this not numbness? It is extreme numbness. In fact, saying that they are numb is giving them some leeway, as this person might be young, or perhaps uneducated, or maybe they are very old and a bit muddled. Saying it this way spares their pride. But in fact, it is poor caliber and a lack of the ability to comprehend the truth. This explanation makes it clear. If serious disruptions and disturbances occur in the church and false leaders cannot see through to the essence of these problems, are they competent for the work of a leader? Can the brothers and sisters be protected under their leadership? Can the church's work, the environment in which the brothers and sisters do their duties, and the normal order of the church life be protected and maintained? These are the most basic things that leaders and workers should achieve. Can false leaders achieve these things? No, they cannot. They cannot even identify or see through the people, events, and things that cause disruptions and disturbances. So how could they proceed with the next steps of their work? They cannot even discern the most basic things, such as what a good person is, what a bad person is, what a deceitful person is, or what a hypocrite is. How can they handle the church work? They are incapable of this. It is not that they deliberately do not do real work, or that they are lazy and indulging in the benefits of status. It is just that they have poor caliber and are incapable of doing their work. This is the essence of the problem. People with very poor caliber can only spout words and doctrines and adhere to regulations. During gatherings, they can only coax and exhort others, saying things like, "Believe in God properly." How can you indulge in fleshly comfort at a time like this? How can you still covet money and worldly things? God must be so heartbroken. They can only deliver sermons of this type. When various evil deeds like disruptions, disturbances, and the venting of negativity occur, they cannot see or identify them. The brothers and sisters want to live a normal church life, but are unable to do so, and they want to have an appropriate environment to do their duties, but they are not able to. False leaders cannot solve these problems, so what use are they? The brothers and sisters want to live the church life, to understand the truth and resolve their difficulties and negative states. They eagerly hope that leaders and workers can fellowship the truth clearly and thoroughly to solve these real issues. If a church is one where false leaders hold power, can these real issues be resolved? False leaders do not understand the hearts of God's chosen people, nor can they see their difficulties. Instead, they continue to speak words and doctrines and drone on and on about lofty, hollow ideas, which causes God's chosen people great disappointment. Who would still want to attend gatherings regularly? Can false leaders be considerate of God's intentions and take those evil people, disbelievers, opportunists, and promiscuous people who are wicked and love worldly things, and cleanse them away from the church according to God's words and requirements, preventing them from interfering with and disturbing God's chosen people, and enabling God's chosen people to live a normal church life? Can false leaders achieve this? They cannot. When someone makes such a request, what do false leaders say? "You are so fussy. Do you think you are the only one who loves God and wants to be loyal in doing a duty? Who doesn't want that? They also believe in God and are chosen by God. Although they have some problems, we should treat them correctly. Don't always find fault with others. Take the opportunity to reflect on and know yourself more. You must learn to be tolerant and patient." False leaders are muddled and blind, and they have no principles in how they treat different types of people. They cannot see through those who should be restricted or cleared out. Instead, they condone these people doing whatever they want and acting like tyrants in the church, giving them plenty of room to operate, which makes a mess of the church, to the point that the level of diverseness in some churches can be described with one phrase: they become a real mixed bag. Evil people, disbelievers, the promiscuous, local tyrants, and even some who would sell out the church and the brothers and sisters, when encountering the slightest bit of danger, are all mixed together in these churches. False leaders cannot see through these people, and they do not handle or address them. Therefore, under the leadership of such blind and numb false leaders, God's chosen people cannot be protected, and the church work and the normal order of church life certainly cannot be maintained. How can those who love the truth and are willing to accept the truth understand and gain the truth in such a mixed church life? Will those people not feel pain in their hearts? If a church leader cannot properly maintain the church's work, the normal order of the church life, or environments for the brothers and sisters to do their duties, or ensure the security of these things, then this leader is undoubtedly a false leader. Why are they given the title of false leader? It is because they are blind and numb, which leads to repeated occurrences of evil people disrupting and disturbing the church's work. Furthermore, even when this has already had consequences, they still cannot handle and resolve the issues promptly and accurately, nor can they properly maintain the church's work and the church life of the brothers and sisters. To put it gently, such leaders are not competent in their work. To put it accurately, they are seriously failing in their duties. Though they serve as leaders, they protect the interests of evil people and the interests of Satan's lackeys, while disregarding the church's work and the life entry of God's chosen people. They defend and condone those evil people, disrupting and disturbing the church life at the expense of harming the brothers and sisters. Although, judging from their caliber and manifestations, they merely have poor caliber and are incompetent in their work, and cannot be defined as antichrists. The consequences of their actions on the church's work are severe. The nature of their actions is the same as that of antichrists, establishing independent kingdoms and suppressing the brothers and sisters. Both safeguard and condone evil people, and condone Satan's lackeys acting however they want in the church. It's just that false leaders do not openly and brazenly do evil and disturb the church's work like antichrists do. They do not intentionally draw people to themselves and get them to obey them, but the end result is the same as that of antichrists establishing independent kingdoms. Both result in brothers and sisters who love the truth and sincerely do their duties being harmed and ruined and left with no way to live. In such an environment and church life, it is very difficult for brothers and sisters who sincerely do their duties to make progress in life, and it is very difficult for them to do their duties normally. Naturally, the work of spreading the gospel and various items of church work are also greatly hindered and cannot develop normally. This is the first manifestation of false leaders that we are dissecting with regard to the 12th responsibility: not noticing and not being able to see through the people, events, and things that arise around them. This manifestation is enough to define such people as false leaders.